behalf of SNOMED International, we would like to thank you for your time. We will now welcome any questions or comments you may have.
Hi everyone. Thank you for attending. I hope you enjoyed that session. We had a few questions during the presentation that I think we can go through. I've got my colleague Anna on as well. So we'll have a look at some of the questions that came through. So one of the questions was on membership and affiliate licenses. Membership and affiliate licenses, you can find out more information on the website under Get SNOMED, under SNOMED CT website. And I think also on one of the booths, there is information, a fact sheet on membership and licensing, so that might be worth checking out as well. Anna, there was a question on negation.
Yes, someone posted a question about absent findings. So if you wanted to express that a patient has no pain, or if, for example, a procedure was planned and it wasn't conducted yet. So there are different situations where you want to record that something maybe hasn't occurred yet, or that you can actually exclude a specific diagnosis or a situation like that. And SNOMED has the ability to express these things using SNOMED CT expressions. We do have some pre-coordinated codes where that contextual information is within the pre-coordinated concept, but there are also the ability to create expressions where you can represent that type of information. For example, if a finding is absent or if a procedure is planned. We will cover that more in the tutorial on SNOMED CT in the electronic health record. Otherwise, there's also our documents, the document library, as John was telling you about, where you can read about SNOMED CT expressions and the concept model.
Okay, thanks, Anna. That was a good way. And you're covering that in your presentation as well later on, aren't you?
Yes, we do look at some examples of how you can represent these different contextual information.
Yeah, so that might be worth people having a look at. So another question was about UMLS. SNOMED doesn't directly to UMLS, but SNOMED is used in UMLS. But SNOMED can be used for maps, for direct maps from systems, or you could use maps that are published that link SNOMED to other international standards. So that was that one. Let's see. Could you see any more questions?
Yes, there has a few have come in. And there is one about the theoretical foundation of SNOMED CT, learning more about description logic. And we do have some material on that. I will actually just go to the document library or the conference site and find the link, and I will post it here. And otherwise, I can also guide you to the e-learning platform, where we have a presentation library, which is freely available. So in that presentation library, there are presentations that teaches you about the logical foundation of SNOMED CT. But for that, you need to have an account on the e-learning platform. So if you go into e-learning or elearning.ihtsgotools.org, I'll put that in the chat as well. Then you can sign up for the e-learning platform, and you can go into the presentation library where you find those presentations.
Okay, thanks, Anna. That would be useful for people wanting to know about description logic. Mention here, someone's asked about whether there's any natural language in processing use cases. Did you have some in the user reference group on NLP?
There are definitely use cases for natural language processing, and yes, we have just seen a session where we can see that the NLP is used in Malaysia, and it's also used in Belgium for different use cases. In some cases, to support the recording of unstructured free text to end up with a SNOMED CT representation, a structured output. And we have also seen examples of where you use NLP for migrating data. So if you have old records that are documented using free text, you can use NLP to end up with a structured SNOMED CT representation. So there are definitely use cases, and we will actually also cover that a bit in the SNOMED in the EHR, so showing you overall principles for that. And in the SNOMED in Action site, we have a website called SNOMEDinaction.org. I would assume that people and projects working on NLP would have posted some examples there.
Thanks, Anna. I think, yeah, that webinar you've done recently from the user support reference group, I think would be a good place to start to look at examples. Yeah. And it's pre-recorded, so anybody can go and watch that.
Yeah, it's if you go to SNOMED.org and find our web series, it's in the implementation web series. You'll find the recording from that session with the example from Malaysia and Belgium.
I think people would find that useful.
Yeah.
One of the questions here is on SNOMED database maintenance. Should it be in individual hospital or common to the country? I think that depends on your implementation approach, in truth, and also your vendor or supplier as well. There is a presentation tomorrow that covers a little bit about using terminology services and the advancement of that, such as Snowstorm. So I think there will be a move, if I'm right, Anna, away possibly from maintenance of databases locally and possibly using terminology services to do those things.
Yes, the discussions currently are on a more service-based approach, but the general response to that question would be that there really isn't one fixed way of doing this, as we also saw in the presentation. You need to consider your requirements for your implementation and see what is the best approach. But certainly it's a centralized approach where you have the terminology server, and what central means here is dependent on your organization and the places where you use it. But having a central place with SNOMED CT and then using services to access the terminology content is definitely the recommendation we give so far.
Yeah, thank you for that, Anna. The question here on the advantages of using SNOMED over clinical terminologies such as ICD-10. We do have some particular slides on ICD compared to SNOMED within the presentation library on the e-learning site that you might find useful. ICD-10 is a classification system where SNOMED is a terminology, and there are quite a few differences between the two. I think the best way to explain it is that SNOMED really has been designed for the use of clinicians at the user interface, where a classification is often used for after of secondary use data to classify what has happened to a patient and group them. So there is quite a big difference. ICD has about, I believe, about 10,000-ish what you would refer to as concepts, where SNOMED has a huge amount more and covers many more things than diagnosis and procedures. For example, pharmaceutical products and devices and many more things. But I think to get a good overall view of that, it's worth going on to the presentation library and having a look at those presentations. I think there's a couple, aren't there, Anna, in that regard?
There are. There are 3 presentations on the difference between SNOMED and ICD. There's one about their organization and that those differences. There's one on the features, comparing the features between SNOMED CT and ICD. So that's more high level, telling you about the differences between a terminology like SNOMED CT and a classification. The 3rd presentation covers how the different aspects of doing analytics with either a classification or a terminology as SNOMED CT. So there are 3 presentations that would cover, that would answer your question there and cover the differences.
Okay, brilliant. So one of the other questions was, does SNOMED International offer consultancy to walk a provider through process and troubleshoot? Well, SNOMED International will try and help vendors as much as they can. In terms of helping providers, if you're within a member country, you might want to talk to your National Release Centre for that support. Do you agree, Anna? Yeah. But there's a lot of people with experience within national release centres that can provide you with support and help. And obviously, they can also come to SNOMED International for advice on implementation. Then there's a question here. There's a lot of qualifiers in SNOMED which are not defined in the concept model. Is there a way they can be used? Do you want to take that one, Anna? Or?
Yes, I can do that because you are certainly right. We do have a lot of qualifier values, and one of the important uses of qualifier values is that we use them to define other concepts in the other hierarchies of SNOMED CT. For example, severities. If you have a severe injury, then the severity value would be a qualifier value. So we use qualifiers to be able to fully define specific concepts in other hierarchies. But you can also use it to represent the like we had before, that the context values, that something is planned or it's performed, or so some of those values you would also use qualifiers. And again, I will show examples of how you can use a qualifier to capture those values in the session on SNOMED in the EHR. So I would recommend that you listen into that one.
Okay, and that's this afternoon, isn't it?
It is. I'll just find the UTC time, 2 seconds.
Okay. There's a question here about how frequently SNOMED is updated. It's currently released twice a year, in January and July. So those are the standard release schedules, but there is a move to consider doing more continuous releasing of SNOMED and update. So keep a check on news when that happens, but currently it's released twice a year.
And I can just say that the tutorial on SNOMED in the EHR, which elaborates on some of the topics that have been covered here, is on 14:30 UTC.
Yeah. Someone asked as well whether this presentation is recorded. Yes, it is, and you will be able to watch it later on or at any other time. I think the presentations remain available on here for up to 3 months, so you should be able to have a look at any of the sessions today. They will be recorded, so if you do miss them, you will be able to go back in and have a look at those. There's a particular question here about wildcard or placeholder expressions.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what is being asked. But I'm wondering, so
I think that if you would like to send an email with your question to elearning@snomed.org, and we'll come back with a more specific answer to that. That seems quite a specific question that might need some further analysis before we respond to that. So hopefully, if that's okay, Stefan, if you send an email to us on that, we can then respond to you. So I think that's it for all the questions that we've had so far. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy Expo. You will see Anna and me in support later on a further educational one on SNOMED in EHR, which I think would be quite useful for those people who are new to SNOMED. So thank you very much. Thank you for the questions. I hope you enjoy the conference, and goodbye for now.
Bye everyone. Please enjoy.